Religious freedom doesn't even matter anymore. I'm Lilley with TheRebel.Media. Back in 1982, on those steps you see behind me in front of the Peace Tower, there were a group of people that gathered. It included Queen Elizabeth II. It included a guy by the name of Pierre, Elliott Trudeau. He was our Prime Minister at the time. It included a guy named Chretien. He was our Justice Minister at the time, went on to become Prime Minister. They all came together to patriate Canada's Constitution, bring it to this country from Britain, and add to it a Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Well, the first fundamental freedom guaranteed in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is freedom of religion. It's right up there at the top, along with freedom of expression, freedom of belief, all of these things, freedom of conscience. These are supposed to be the bedrock. And yet increasingly, progressives anyway, are selective on whether it matters at all or whether it's trumped by some new right that wasn't put in to the Charter in 1982. So I bring this up in the context of what happened with the campaign. Again, started the second week, Prime Minister Harper trying to drive the agenda and says Canada is going to continue to stand up for religious freedom abroad through the Office of Religious Freedom and through supporting religious minorities.
And the problem is, of course, some of the code words used by the Conservatives has been very worrisome. For example, President Obama will talk about working with houses of worship and religious leaders. Mr. Harper points out and singles out mosques. He knows why he's using that language.
I believe it is important that we call the international jihadist threat exactly what it is. And anyone who thinks that is somehow labeling Islam, Muslims are the vast majority of victims of this movement. Muslim minorities are a particular focus of our international efforts to make sure we protect people, not just in this country, but around the world. If you're not prepared to call the threat we face by the name it is, you are not prepared to confront it, and we need to confront it as a country.
Now let me read to you from the Conservative press release on why they say this is so important. Nearly 75% of the world's population lives in countries with high restrictions on freedom of religion. We saw that last week with the attempt by China in one district to force churches, even government-approved churches, to take down crosses off of their walls, off of their spires. The release goes on to say religious minorities in Iraq, Syria, and nearby regions are facing major threats from ISIS, who is engaged in the mass murder of Yazidis, beheadings of Coptic Christians, kidnappings of Assyrians, and bombings of Shia mosques. ISIS and its followers have also desecrated and destroyed sacred places of worship, holy sites, and ancient religious artifacts throughout the region. What's the Liberal response to this? Here's the tweet from Gerald Butts. He's Trudeau's right-hand man, the guy that's always whispering in the would-be king's ear. He says, after a year of thinly veiled Islamophobia, Harper wants to make Canadians believe he's a champion of religious freedom. Well, yeah, actually, he is. And let's talk about that issue of Islamophobia, because while Trudeau and Butts don't like the idea of Canada participating in the bombing mission to push back ISIS, Stephen Harper has supported it. Why is that important, and how does that relate to religious freedom? Well, one of the purposes of ISIS is to take over the area and impose their brand of Islam. The number one source of victims for them are other Muslims that don't agree with them. Then you've got the Christians, an entire Christian village that had been there for millennia, forced out. You've got the Yazidis, forced out. Their women forced into sex slavery, all of these religious minorities. This is standing up for religious freedom, saying, no, you can't kill these people because they believe differently than you. But what's the big push on from the Liberals, from the NDP? Well, Stephen Harper, I mean, look at Aaron Weary from Maclean's. He put out this tweet basically saying, oh, sure, Harper believes in religious freedom, just not if you want to wear something to say an oath. It comes back to the issue of covering your face while taking the oath. Which one is real religious freedom? The one that says, we're going to treat you just like Islamic countries do, just like Muslim countries do, and you have to show your face at certain times? Or the one that says, we will stop people from killing you because of your faith? Which one is really standing up for religious freedom? I'm tired of these people cherry picking on this issue. Whether it is Trinity Western University, whether it's MPs within their own parties, and telling them what they have to believe and what they have to do. The progressives have one view of rights, and it's the wrong view. It is a view that says we'll stand up for multiculturalism even if it's against everything the country was based on. That's not real multiculturalism. That's not real rights. That's pandering. And that's what Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are doing on this issue.